as a leader? Maybe someone has been very, 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 very disrespectful to you. Have you ever had someone be disrespectful to you and you just didn't know, well, what should I say? How should I say it? Well, in this video, very briefly, we're going to talk about what you need to say when people are being disrespectful to you as a leader. Now, if you've ever been disrespected as a leader, put it in the comments below. Tell me what happened and how you handled it, and let's come up with some strategies to help you be able to navigate those situations when they come up. Many times when you are watching videos online or on YouTube, people will talk to you about, say this, try that, this leadership model, this hypothesis, and etc. Well, I'm here to share with you actually real strategies that will help you if you have been disrespected or someone's being disrespectful to you as a leader. Now, this channel heavily focuses on advanced communication skills and strategies. I focus on the very challenging, complex situations that come for us as leaders. And if you really want to learn how to communicate more confidently and concisely under pressure, then this is the best channel for you to join on. Let's see if my internet is working now. Yes. Okay, now it's working. Sorry, my connection for some reason in this area has been a bit spotty, but nonetheless, I'm here to support you any way that I can. All right, Cat 23rd. Hello, Cat. How are you doing today? Good to see you, Cat. And some of the things that come up oftentimes when people are disrespected, they're really caught off guard because most of us go into conversations thinking that we're having a conversation, not that someone's going to just blatantly disrespect you. So what do you do in those situations? How do you say it? What do you do? One of the things I work with my clients on, and I talk about a lot on my channel, is that even though you may be caught off guard if someone's being disrespectful to you, there are ways that you will be able to manage it if you do a bit of prep work in advance in terms of getting ready for those situations when they come up. I'm going to go into what to say in just a few moments, but I do want to preface this by saying that there is a couple things that you want to specifically work on initially. I want to say hello to Santos Apisapu. Hello, welcome. Santos says, hi dear, how are you? I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. You want to know what your triggers are. There are certain words, there's certain actions, there's certain phrases, there's certain gestures, there's certain aspects of a conversation that will trigger you to be upset and to respond in a very emotional way, especially when you're being disrespected. If you know what your triggers are in advance, then you'll be able to prepare templated responses based on those triggers. Now, sometimes situations happen where you will be in a situation where you didn't know something was a trigger for you until it actually happens. That's okay. You still want to respond in a very, very calm and direct way. I want to say hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to those of you watching the live today. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And have you ever been disrespected as a leader? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Thank you for the heart emojis. A couple things you can say when someone disrespects you. Give me just 1 second. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Santos says, good luck and come to India. You come to India. I have not been to India, but I've seen I have a lot of people I work with that are in India, and some of the pictures there are absolutely amazing. Kat says, I have been disrespected. Okay, so Kat, we can talk about it briefly for the next like 5-10 minutes, and let's talk about what happened and how we can address it so that it doesn't, so that if it happens again, you know how to respond. But a couple things I will say initially, when someone is disrespectful to you, how do you respond? Most importantly is you try not to respond with emotion as best you can, because when you respond with too much emotion, sometimes you may need to show some emotion. Okay, so this person knows that what you just said is not okay, but there's a balance there. You don't want to be too emotional, yelling, raising your voice, and etc. You want to be just in the middle where you know what is being said is disrespectful and you call it out for that. Some of the things I've done in the past when someone has been very disrespectful to me is I set myself up with my facial expressions first. That's the first thing that I do to center the conversation and let the person know what you said is not correct. One of the most important facial expressions that you want to master is eye contact. I talk about this at length here on the channel. Take a look at any of my videos on my channel, particularly my live videos that talk about eye contact. Listen out for my cowboy analogy. That is my analogy to eye contact. And it will, I guarantee you, it will help you master eye contact. eye contact is the first thing. So I make direct eye contact with that person. I really focus on my eyebrows. So I'm not intentionally just trying to modify my eyebrows, but I have to look at this person with a very, very straight face, meaning I'm not showing a lot of emotion. You have to set that tone before you even speak, before you even say anything. If you have direct eye contact with someone and you're just looking at them straight in their eyes and not and being very focused on them, they're going to feel that something's changing in the conversation, even though you have not said anything specifically. So let me go in the chat and then I'll tell you exactly what to say. But you want to start off with your eye contact first. It needs to be very, very direct to the point where you need to let this person know this is not appropriate. Okay, so Kat says the leader was using their power over me, like being in a leadership position. They saw it fit to take advantage of the perks that came with the position and took down and looked down on me. When you have people that do things like that, Kat, one, they're not leaders. That's the best way I can say it is, one, they're not a leader. But two, in those situations, when that comes up, always, or if someone is trying to look down on you or give you a hard time, always show that you are the more educated person, even if they are a leader. Most leaders don't walk around knowing statistics because they're not subscribed to my channel. But knowing some specifics about your role specifically that are in the form of percentages always will put you up, set you up as someone that is highly credible. So if you have that situation where someone's trying to be rude or look down on you, when someone's looking down on you, they think they're better than you. They think that they're better than you, they're smarter than you, they know more than you. So your goal is to show them that absolutely you don't know anything. And if you know some data about your role specifically, some percentages or some insights, respond back to that person, then that person will probably not have much to say because they think, oh, Kat knows exactly what she's talking about. I didn't even know that. They're going to have a hard time with it. They just will. Most people, they have a hard time with statistics unless they're trained to be in those very contentious situations that we talk about on the channel. But having some data about when someone trying to look down on you to provide validity to what you're saying will definitely help you out quite a bit. Eye contact is a big one there also, Kat. Direct eye contact is so critically important in those situations because that person has to get that sense that the dynamic of the conversation has changed. You're not smiling cat. No, smiling cat's not going to be smiling cat. There's a situation specifically that comes up where someone's disrespecting you. So eye contact, have some statistics, and then your words that you say, they have to be a bit different than your baseline. And Kat, I believe you've been on the channel for a while. We've talked about baseline a bit, but for those of you who do not know what I'm talking about, everyone has a baseline in terms of how they communicate all the time. And I've talked about this a lot in some of my videos, but to give you just an overview, you can always look at the videos to learn more in detail. But I will say this specifically. When you are in those disrespectful, and thank you for the heart emojis, conversations, your baseline has to change. It has to change. If you don't know what your baseline is, take a second, record yourself on your phone, and you'll start to get a glimpse of what your baseline is, because that's what everybody else is noticing when you speak. This is your tone of voice. Now, when someone's disrespectful to you, your tone of voice should be a bit more, I would say, lower or have more depth to it than your baseline. So for instance, if I normally speak this lower, I will lower my tone of voice, not soften my voice, like whisper to them. No, I will sound a bit more direct. Just as if you're talking to someone and you know they're doing something wrong, you just have to be a little bit more direct with them. Your tone should be a little bit more depth to it. So if you're one person to say, I speak normally like this and this is how I talk, if someone is disrespecting you, you should say, excuse me, I don't like the way that was said. My tone of voice is different. I'm not communicating the same way I do every day, which is one of the reasons why that helps to shift a conversation, because the person says, wait, this person normally speaks this way and now they're speaking differently. Something's going on. What's going on? And they're trying to process it. So that's one way to do it. Now, specifically, what I want to say in this situation is you have to, especially if you're in a room full of people, you have to acknowledge the disrespect immediately. You cannot leave the room like that. You cannot. If people are watching, they're going to think that it's okay for people to be disrespected. and you want to say something. Even if you don't want to necessarily have an all-out back and forth conversation, you don't need to do that if you don't feel like it's appropriate. You can always talk to human resources department about it as well. But I will say that there needs to be something. You need to make a comment. You need to say something, because basically you're having to let this person know that the way you're speaking to me is not okay. So let me see what's in the chat. Someone 24A says, you're driving. Yes, I am driving a vehicle. Kat says, luckily I kept my cool around the person because retaliation would have been disastrous, especially for a guy who was favored in the position. Yes, and sometimes you have to be mindful of those situations, but still, even if that's the case and you kept your cool, which is fantastic, that's so incredibly important when someone's being disrespectful to you, your interactions with that person should forever change. And I mean forever. If you're still working at the role or the position that someone is in specifically, and this is where you choose to be at and you like being there, your interaction should never be the same. People will say you can, let it go and just keep moving. You can, but your interaction should always still be different. Because remember, this person has disrespected you. You didn't deserve to be disrespected. Therefore, if someone chooses to disrespect you, why does that person have the opportunity to still interact with you with the way that they did prior to the disrespect? They don't. They are not able to do that, in my very humble opinion. This is how I manage disrespect. When it happens once, I take note of it. I'll say what I need to say that I feel like is appropriate. I use my eye contact. I specifically focus on the depth of my voice, changing it from my baseline. I say very, very direct words. Excuse me, this is not correct. That is inaccurate. I have seen this, and say my statistics, my data, whatever it is I want to say, and then I'm silent. I use silence as an advantage because silence itself creates distance in a conversation. People may respond back and they may say, oh, I didn't mean that. Oh, I meant something else. Okay, thank you for explaining that. I would always say, thank you. I appreciate you letting me know that. But my conversations would still be different moving forward. I would not communicate the same way that I would with them in the past. I'd be very direct, because a lot of times what happens, and thank you for the heart emojis, when you're in conversations with people, specifically, you can be either a woman in leadership, but a man in leadership, it doesn't matter. But what I'm sharing with you is important, but especially as a woman in leadership, if you're in a role specifically where you're in an industry that is more heavily dominated by men and etc., you can't just be that person that just sits there quietly, because some people expect you as a woman to do that. I'm being honest with you. They do. But you don't want to do that, especially if you're subscribed to my channel, or if you're working with me as a client. That's definitely not what we work on. But I will say that a lot of times when people disrespect other people, they may feel that it's okay to communicate that way. And if you change the dynamic in terms of how you communicate with that person, you are letting them know that the way they're communicating with you is not okay. Now, it may be something subtle that you just work out over time, but you absolutely want to change how you communicate with that person moving forward. It doesn't matter if this person decides to be the most kindest person in the world, provides you with guidance, promotion, etc. You still have to remember that. And I'm not the person that holds on to things. I let things go. But you have to take mental note when people do things like that, because if they've disrespected you once, they will probably do it again if you let them. That's why you cannot let them do that again. The way you communicate, how you communicate, your eye contact, what you say, what you do not say, it really does matter. And this is how leaders, you can start developing your executive presence, where people know that, okay, I know this is an issue for this person. I know that they're very direct. They are very much decisive in terms of what they say, or they're very concise. That will help you out tremendously when you're dealing with disrespectful people. Remember, when you have someone that's disrespecting you, the key words you want to do, the key things you want to do is prepare yourself, know your triggers. If you need some support, contact me for an executive strategy session. I will help you with that. Also, make sure that your eye contact is where it needs to be. Be highly focused on that person and just look at them. Look at my videos that talk about eye contact to practice. And then make sure your tone of voice is different than your baseline, and your words should be very concise and very, very short to the point. this is incorrect. I have not observed this. There's a better way to approach this, in my opinion. You have to say more affirmative words. This is the time where you don't want to say, I think, maybe, possibly. No. When disrespect comes, you have to basically counteract that with having a very, 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 very strong executive presence. Kat says, appreciate it 100. Absolutely, Kat. I hope that gives you some insight, some things to think about. I will be live later. I will hopefully be live later this evening. If not, because I have a client session. So if I'm not live this evening, I will be definitely live tomorrow morning. So I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.